Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Town Board of the Town of Ossining regular meeting for June 26th, 2018. Please rise and join me for the pledge, and please remain standing. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would like everybody to remain standing to join me as we observe a moment of silence for all of those children torn from their parents at border crossings into this country, which we call America, land of the free, home of the brave. Pray that those with the power to do so will see the error of their ways and quickly reunite with innocents who should be returned to the care of their loving parents.
Councilmember Shaw,
Present.
Councilmember Wilshire,
Present.
Supervisor Levenberg.
Here.
We'll begin this evening with a public hearing in the matter of the 2018 cabaret license for Flames Bar and Grill. Do we have anybody here who wishes to address the board on this?
We are hopeful and excited that Flames will be added to our list of businesses that provide entertainment and music to their patrons without disturbing the neighbors. So we look forward to a successful cabaret license. There's nobody here to address us as this public hearing, so we anticipate being able to close the public hearing in a minute, and then hopefully we will be able to vote on adopting this cabaret license subsequent regular meeting. Seeing that there's nobody here, may I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Do we have any announcements this evening?
We do. We have quite a few announcements. First off, we have breaking news. Congratulations to the winners of the Best of Westchester competition from Westchester Magazine. We have a nice list, which includes Westerly Marina, Ossining Public Library, Vaza Salon, Theater O, Pets A Go-Go, Jimmy D Entertainment, Atria Senior Living, and 3 Westerly. So congratulations to all of those businesses in Ossining. Please make sure you take the time to patronize these wonderful establishments, and when you do, give them 2 thumbs up for this awesome recognition. Also, a reminder, Briarcliff first half village taxes are due by Monday, July 2nd. Stop by Village Hall or pay online. Last night, I participated in a joint meeting with the town of Cortland, the village of Croton, and the town of Ossining to discuss issues of safety and oversight on the Croton River. Particular attention was paid to the New York State public forest land called the Unique Area. Over the past several years, this group, with help from Assemblywoman Sandy Galiff, advocated to the state DEC for changes in rules to this area, and about 2 years ago, they were successful in getting them changed. As designated forest land, this was an uphill battle since it had the potential to affect rules on other forested land. But eventually the DEC did determine that this locale warranted a different treatment. So you are no longer allowed to hunt, camp, make a fire, possess or consume alcoholic beverages, play audio devices, or play musical instruments. That one's a little odd to me. Or be in the park before dawn or after dusk. These were put in place to make sure that that area is safe. There were, unfortunately, a number of drownings in the Croton River over the years, specifically when accessed from this public land. In addition to those rules that were permitted by the DEC, signage with warnings in 2 languages has also been posted. Also, many people do not remember to take their garbage with them, and this is not good for either those who live on the water or creatures that live in the water. We have some access points which are utilized in town, so we have participated in these meetings in an effort to do what we can to maintain and sustain in a positive way this public space. As the weather heats up, we ask those who do choose to use the Croton River for recreation to be respectful of the rules and regulations, as well as the neighbors and the environment, so that we can protect it and enjoy it for many years to come. We are also exploring the legality and cost of sharing a steward from the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference's Boots program for this area. This program was most recently put in place in 2017 for the Breakneck Ridge Trail in Putnam and Dutchess counties with extremely positive outcomes, and which we heard about last night at the meeting. We hope to have more information in the near future. We also discussed the hydrilla treatment continuing to take place in the river, which the DEC and DEP have approved, and which will continue throughout the season. Since the water has been below 50 degrees up until recently, this has slowed the growth of the invasive. But there will be some spot tests done later in the summer, which we will hopefully get information about so we can inform you. Finally, we discussed how the original plan for the Indian Brook Croton Gorge watershed from 2008 called for an overlay zone, which would put in place certain zoning specific to parcels in the watershed. We have been working towards this for some years, and we're hopeful that a grant could help guide us in this direction. However, we were unsuccessful with 2 different grant applications, so are hoping the Westchester County Planning Department may be able to offer us some guidance. Last week, the MOGO, Millwood Ossining Go Task Force, reconvened to review the draft MOGO Bike and Pedestrian Connectivity Plan prepared by Westchester County Planner Tracy Corbett, as well as to discuss presenting a final draft of the plan to the various town and village boards who have been involved in this bike pedestrian connectivity corridor between downtown Ossining and the North County Trailway. We're hoping to make the rounds in the next month and get feedback from the various boards and communities so we can continue to move forward with establishing safer routes for all forms of transportation, and particularly those that encourage healthy living, including your feet. That's a form of transportation. Also, last week we mentioned Grievance Day took place on the 19th. We are seeing a steady decline in grievances to the tune of 22% overall since our reval went into effect in 2016. Well, the 22% is since last year, but overall we're seeing a downward trend in grievances. This is excellent news for all of the municipalities as well as for our taxpayers, as we understand that bringing our assessment to 100% of value offers transparency and ease in terms of understanding the true value of one's property. This Friday, visit Briar Bagels starting at 9 a.m. for Coffee with a Cop. Enjoy a free cup of coffee and a bagel with Ossining's finest on them. Our waterfront concert series got off to a great start on a wonderful evening last Friday, and a special shout out to Ossining Police Department again for visiting with the ice cream truck and handing out free popsicles. It was very much appreciated by all. We are looking forward to another nice night this Friday with Out After Curfew, a rock and roll cover band playing the tunes, and Gyro Uno food truck serving up their grilled specialties. Also really good french fries, I have to say. Bring a blanket or a lawn chair and plan to enjoy a relaxing night with a little dancing by the river thrown in if it suits your fancy. The concert starts at 7 p.m. Thanks again to our big sponsor, Westchester Bank, as well as our other 3 sponsors, Sterling Bank, Greater Hudson Bank, and Mike Risco Music. Saturday night is our annual fire department inspection, which the town board and our elected officials have been invited to attend, and some of us plan to do so. Congratulations to the Ossining Fire Department, which was named the 2018 champions at the Hudson Valley Volunteer Firemen's Association convention last weekend up north. We look forward to seeing you all strut your stuff at the inspection dinner. Friday, June 29th, Westchester Collaborative Theater is performing their Play in the Box reading of Pro Bono by Natalie Bates. Come experience theater in its infancy and give feedback to local artists. For more info, go to wctheater.org. Also, Saturday, June 30th at 2 p.m. at the Boudars Theater in the Ossining Public Library, sample a taste of WCT with 4 one-act plays. This one is free. Also on Saturday, June 30th, come join our own Robert J. Stava for the release of his latest novel, The Lost World of Karamu, from Severed Press at 6 Degrees of Separation. Copies of the book will be available at the event. Join Robert for a 1-hour interactive presentation on the inspirations and research behind the novel, including locations, latest developments in dinosaur paleontology, and where fact becomes fiction in his latest science fiction horror tale set on a remote island in the South China Sea. You can go to severedpress.com for more information. And I don't have the time, but I feel like it's around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. On Sunday, July 1st at 7 p.m., world-class musician Eric Lawrence returns to Camp Woods for his annual sound healing visit. Eric has traveled the world with Levon Helm, Bob Dylan, Joan Osborne, Elvis Costello, Jackson Browne, and countless others. Still touring with Little Feat, Henry Butler, and Tony Levin, he has developed a practice of sound guidance, healing, and encouragement, both private and in large group settings, using many sound and vibrational modalities. John, I know you're going to be there. All events are free. Donations accepted for historic preservation and maintenance of the auditorium. For more information, visit campwoodsgrounds.com. We're getting all geared up for our Independence Day fireworks celebration and have met with all of the participating organizations, including, but not limited to, the Austin Police and Fire Departments and OVAC, the town parks, the Village Parks and Rec, their DPW, to coordinate our efforts for a safe, and our Highway Department, to coordinate our efforts for a safe, enjoyable celebration at the waterfront. We encourage you to get down there early and watch the OPD Facebook, Twitter, and Nextdoor pages over the next week for tips on how to plan for a particularly awesome Independence Day celebration experience. We have commitments from Gyro Uno, A Beats Pizza, Kona Ice, The Blue Pig, Lonnie's Fish and Chips, Good Choice Kitchen, Elsa's Ice Cream, Hudson Lemonade, and possibly a few more surprises to add to the night's enjoyment. And as you will hear later, we are hoping to have a solar-powered merry-go-round for additional entertainment options. The John Bates Band will pull out all the stops starting their show at 7:30, but don't leave after the fireworks. Plan to dance till at least 10:30 to avoid the traffic. Christy, I know you're coming to that one. The Briarcliff Manor Concert Series, sponsored by the Briarcliff Chamber of Commerce, kicks off at the Law Park Field on Thursday, July 12th at 7 p.m. and continues for the next 3 Thursdays. Food, wine, beer, and music. What could be better on a summer Thursday? Check out the Village of Briarcliff's website for more info. Get your tickets now for the Chamber of Commerce's annual Lobster Fest, taking place this year on Saturday, July 14th from 6 to 10 p.m. at the Quality of Life building outside Sing Sing. Tickets are on sale at austinechamber.org. Yes, it's true. Have come to the end of the announcements. Anybody have something to add? Because I might have missed something. No? How was that color run this week?
Oh, the color run. Thank you.
Just wondering because I missed it. Yeah.
The Ossining School District PTA put on the color run, and it was a lot of fun. We were completely covered in rainbow colors, hair, everything. It was a mess. We drove my husband's car, so that was good. But it was a lot of fun. It was a great turnout, and hopefully they raised a lot of money because it was a lot of fun.
Fantastic. Anything else? Good. Okay. All good. So let's move on then to
Liaison reports.
liaison reports. Do we have any liaison reports?
Just that the fire department inspection, which you already mentioned, is this Saturday.
Correct.
What time is that?
5:30 for the cocktails and 6:30 for the actual inspection.
So anybody who wants to come and see our fine firefighters in uniform and all of our great apparatus shined up and spiffed up should come down to the riverfront and take a look at what your tax dollars pay for.
Absolutely. And
Our chiefs do a great job, and our guys are always amazing, so it's well worth it to come look.
and
Bring the
they were
kids.
the Hudson Valley winners, as we know from last week. So
They're always the Hudson
I
Valley
know,
winners.
but we'll just take advantage of seeing what they got for volunteer firefighters. Just a quick question: are you planning to attend the inspection?
Yeah, I told him that. a little
You did.
time ago.
Okay. It wasn't mentioned to me, so okay. Just checking. Thank you.
Departmental reports.
We
Bill-
have. Okay, go ahead.
Building Department, John Hamilton.
Yeah,
Building
welcome to
inspector.
our building inspector, John Hamilton. We look forward to hearing some information that you have to share with us this evening.
Well, good evening. I gave the board a report, our activity report, January 1 through June 25th. I think that's pretty well self-explanatory. What I wanted to talk about was the accessory apartment law revisions that you're currently looking at. I took a look at them yesterday, and I had some thoughts that I would hope you would consider when you're reviewing the ideas. We're in favor of moving the zoning to the zoning code from Chapter 50. We think that's a great idea, and we also agree that the apartments should be allowed in accessory buildings on the property. But there were a few items that we wanted you to consider. The zoning board currently is in charge of accessory apartments. We would like to see that continue, to let them be the agency in charge of this process. The law went into effect 19 years ago in 1999. The zoning board has been in charge since its inception, and the process runs effectively and efficiently. The zoning board uses the same criteria to consider an application as proposed in the revisions for planning board review. A decision on the application is generally rendered in one meeting, rarely two, and the public hearing is also part of this meeting. In the original law, and also in the revisions submitted to you, under the purpose section, one of the intentions is to ease the financial burden of homeowners, particularly those with moderate or fixed incomes. Currently, if you go before the zoning board, there's one flat fee of $250. If you go before the planning board, the fee is while the fee is the same, there's also a rather large escrow account you have to put in, which could cause an issue for people who are already financially strapped. It would get to the point where possibly the only ones who could come before you would be people of higher incomes rather than the moderate and fixed income levels. So we're one of the reasons why we would like to keep it with the zoning board. Excuse me. The maximum size of the apartment currently is 800 square feet and is being recommended to increase it to 1,200. We don't see a reason why it should go up that high as an accessory apartment. If you think about 1,200 square feet, that's the size of a smaller house, but it's the size of a house. And, excuse me, my cold. And in a building other than the principal building, we feel there shouldn't be a two-bedroom unit in there. We feel that in an accessory structure, there should be a studio apartment in there. Allowing two bedrooms has the potential to affect the school student population, a concern that's been raised by many of the town citizens. Even though it's prohibited by this law, there exists the potential to add persons into the additional bedroom that are not part of the family unit to help with rent and expenses. Studio unit should help to alleviate that possibility. The penalty for the violation of this section should be the same as the violation of the zoning code. There was a change there, and we would like to see it say uniform with the rest of the zoning code, which is a minimum $100 and a maximum $5,000. This keeps the penalty consistent with the chapter, and it helps to discourage people who are looking to maybe do something they shouldn't be doing under the zoning code. The 3-year period before a property owner can apply for an accessory dwelling unit on an existing space in the proposed law is eliminated. We're not sure that that's such a great idea. Currently, it's 3 years. I could see it go to 2 years or 1 year, but I'm not sure that immediately is the best answer. Because then you can have somebody who builds a brand-new building, a developer who's going to flip the house and tells the prospective buyers, I'll have it all set up for you to put an apartment in. So here we have a brand-new unit that all of a sudden has an accessory apartment built into it, where all they have to do is maybe hook up some kitchen equipment and they're good to go. I mean, according to the way I read this, the purpose is to help homeowners that are kind of struggling or who want to bring mom and dad in with them, or perhaps mom and dad are bringing the college kids back home again, something to that extent. So I'm not sure that just allowing anybody to do it whenever they feel like it is the right way to go. So there's not a lot of changes that we're recommending, but we just wanted to give them to you to see if you consider them.
Question was about, I think that those are all really good suggestions. I'm not sure what the board thinks. I know, I'm guessing that Councilwoman Dottori is not able to join us this evening. We'll have some opinions on it just because that's a particular focus of hers. But I agree with you that I think reducing the size will give us the ability to limit to hopefully, empty nesters or people just, again, the same reason that we limit the number of bedrooms in other sorts of developments. I think that's a very good suggestion. And the penalty, I guess the question that I was going to ask you was about, I guess we could, theoretically change. Oh, I know I was going to ask you, what happens if somebody actually decides that they want to build an accessory apartment, so it's not in a structure? They wouldn't have to come before and go through the same kinds of things that anybody building anything would have to do if they're doing this in a, they have to build something to code, right?
Right. The way the law reads now, the structure has to be there already for
Right.
at least 3 years. Let me correct that. Not the structure, the space that you're going to use inside your structure. So if you have a garage or
Right.
a barn and you want to add an accessory apartment, it has to be there for at least 3 years already. The proposed law is said, well, let's eliminate that and just do it whenever you want, which I don't know that that's a good thing. 1 or 2 years, I think, is a little more ideal. But the procedure is the same whether it's in the house or whether it's in an accessory structure. You submit your application to me, I review it, we send it to the zoning board. The zoning board looks it over, they do their due diligence, they go to the site, they check everything that's required as they currently do under the code, and if they find everything is correct and there's not a major issue with it, they issue the permit for it. We in turn then issue a building permit, go through the entire process, issue the CO, and then we inspect it again yearly. It'll be the same for either structure.
Okay, so maybe I just didn't completely understand
Okay.
the 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, or no year limit. So let's just take an example. I want to have an accessory apartment available to somebody, and I have. Are you guys?
We're having trouble with this chair.
Okay, I just feel like you can't actually listen to what's going on if you're just
we can't.
playing musical chairs here. Okay. Okay, are we good? Okay. Thank you. If in fact I have a garage, out, a detached garage, right? And there's enough room in the top of the garage that I could put in an accessory apartment. I can't just go in there according to the new the proposed draft that David Stolman put together. I could just go in there and tomorrow and put together some building. I could put a second floor or whatever in there and a loft space or whatever I was going to put in and enclose it and create a space for an accessory apartment.
Right. In other words, if I understand you correctly, you have a garage, you want to build on top of it.
No, inside. I want to build
but
in
you
the
want to
second.
build something on
Right.
so that you can have that space. Under the proposal, you'd be allowed to do that tomorrow.
And-
Right, you get your necessary building permits, we give you a CO, then you would go to the board and request the accessory apartment permit
Okay.
immediately.
Right, and you're suggesting with the way that it's, to leave it at 3 years, I'd have to go in there and build a structure, not calling it an accessory apartment, and then 3 years later, I can say, okay, now I can put somebody in there?
Well,
That's what I'm just not understanding how this all works.
Current law said that you have to take anything that you have existing, or if you just built it, and you have to let it be in existence for 3 years, then you can apply for the permit. I'm guessing, and I'm only guessing, the intent of that was to discourage what I just said, somebody coming in, putting up a structure, flipping it, and the new person's got an accessory apartment immediately. And I'm guessing that was the intent of the board back at the time this was done. So that board made it 3 years. 3 years can seem a bit excessive. I could understand if it was 2 years or 1 year, but I'm not sure that going the route where you can do it immediately is the right thing to do, because you do have people who flip houses. And these developers say, listen, for another couple of $1,000s, I'll put the piping in the walls for you. It's legal. I'll put this, I'll put that. And then when you get your CO, apply for it, and your work is done already, and you made yourself a nice profit when you sell, and you got somebody that you can help cover your mortgage.
So I guess my question is, if I want to just get that space ready in my attached garage for a year or two from now, I still have to go to you to get a variety of permits.
Depending on what you want to do in there, yes. If you want to take this and make it a habitable space, you're going to need building permits from us. If you're going to do anything involving closing it up, finishing the room off, running electric or plumbing, right, you have to come to us, but we're going to emphasize that you may not use this as a, quote, habitable living space until such time as you get approvals from the appropriate board.
Okay. So if I were building something else, I'd have to go before the planning board, but because it's within a structure that's already on my property, I wouldn't have to do that.
Well,
It's like a disconnect for me, like how, if you're living in a house, we have the detached garage, you want to make it into an accessory apartment, how would you, and you're not planning to flip it, let's just take the best case scenario, just like you're, regular Joe, you want to put that in there because you want to try to see if you can get a little more, you want your kids to live there, or you want your parents to live there, or whatever. The procedure would be to go to you, get the various permits, but you don't have to go before the planning board to do anything.
okay. Under the proposed law or the current, all right, let's do it both ways.
Either way.
Under the current law, you can't, I won't give you a building permit to build an accessory apartment. If you want it, the first step you're going to do is bring your accessory apartment application into us. We'll review it, send it to the board, and they'll review it. Should they pass it, then you come back to me for all your necessary permits.
I see.
And then we do it. Under the proposed law submitted by David, you'll come into me, same procedure, you'll come into me, I'll give it to the planning board. They'll follow the same criteria that the zoning board is currently using. The difference being that you have to set up escrow accounts, you've got to deal with consultants, you might need a pre-planning meeting, and, you know, it goes up and up and up. The zoning board, you're paying a $250 fee. They tend to do all this work. They go out, they walk the site, they get all the paperwork, they look at everything that they're required to do as indicated now. So the difference would be whichever board you decide to send it to. I prefer zoning because it's being done for the last 19 years, or you send it to planning and the rates change and it becomes a little more involved of a process. Ultimately, the final goal is the same. It's the way we want to get to it, which board.
I think
looking
his
over this
points
way.
make sense. From, depending on what the intent and goal of the board is. The zoning board has been doing this for as long, I mean, you saw the draft last week, it was changed from zoning board to planning board, so it's not, the change would be putting it within the planning board's purview, where the planning board generally now looks at, more site plan issues. And this isn't necessarily that same sort of application.
Yeah, if you're just going for an accessory apartment, the structure's there already, so you're not looking to go for a site plan review. You're just looking to make sure, if you look at the code, make sure you have adequate parking. You want to make sure it blends in with the neighborhood, and then you do a little topo of it to make sure that the adjoining properties are in agreement with it in comparison, and then you're able to do it. It really runs well, I have to say. It runs very well. We have the 30 units now, and the zoning board has got it down to a science. They really do. That's why I guess it's the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And the zoning board's doing a great job with it. And if we switch it to the planning board, then the fee goes up another $5,000.
I mean, we took another look at this from your recommendation originally. Right, you recommended that we take a look to expand the accessory apartment
Yes.
law, right? And then kind of take a look back. So you're in favor of these other changes to allow this, but your recommendation again is to keep more of a, box around it so that it doesn't get out of control.
Yeah, the zoning board seems to have a really good handle on it. And it's not broken.
Right.
There's some revisions. I'm just really happy to see that at least you're reviewing that it would go into the zoning board. I've been into the
Zoning
zoning
code.
code, I'm sorry.
Right.
I've been hoping that would get done for years, and I've had so many people come to me about trying to put an accessory apartment in the garage or the barn because mom and dad can't take care of themselves anymore, our house is too small, and I say, I'm sorry, you can't do it. Worst case scenario is your college kids come home, you want to shove them in the garage or the barn. So it's,
Nobody wants to shove their.
well, I don't know, but anyway.
Well, just to,
So it's a great idea. I've been in favor of it for years.
Okay.
For years. And I just, I just want to see it kept
Contained.
small.
Right.
Yeah,
Got it. That's
small.
the word I was like. Okay.
just to expand a little bit on what John was saying, and this did come up during the conversation last week, the point of putting it in the zoning code is that it comes within the zoning board's appellate review, and that's different
Yes.
than what John is suggesting with having the zoning board granting the accessory apartment permit. It also brings it within the zoning board's appellate jurisdiction to either seek an interpretation or grant variances from the requirements. And that's something that's not an option right now. So if John says, sorry, you don't satisfy the code, you can't do this, there's no remedy to the applicant other than if it's an interpretation. I guess you could bring in Article 78, but I doubt a lot of people are going to do that. But there's no mechanism for potentially varying the bulk requirements. that may otherwise be appropriate in certain situations, and which the zoning board is asked to do regularly with respect to all of the bulk requirements in the code. So we're looking at a couple of different things here. There's putting it in the zoning code for the purposes of the zoning board's statutory appellate jurisdiction versus leaving the actual granting of the accessory apartment permit with the zoning board as it previously was.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's probably the best reason, too.
Got it. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions for John on this? Or if you have other stuff.
So 800 square feet is like a small one-bedroom apartment?
Well,
or-
the code allows 800 square feet, a maximum of 800 square feet, or 33% of the building, with a maximum of 2 bedrooms in the main structure. The proposed revisions allowed that 1,200 square feet and 2 bedrooms, even in the auxiliary building, which I am not in favor of. I feel that it should be a studio apartment if it goes in a garage or a barn. This negates any, I'm having trouble, so I'm just going to bring in my friend. He's going to live in 1 bedroom, and you know what? The other guy can sleep on the couch. It kind of negates that because you're all in 1 big room. And I just don't see why you would need to put something bigger than a studio apartment in a barn. I don't understand why you would need to do more than that. This is meant to help, as it's said in the
Right.
purpose.
Oh, no, it makes sense.
Yeah,
John,
I just,
how's it worded now, if you know? Is it limited to studios right now?
no.
So would
It's-
that
it's-
impact existing units?
No, the studio I'm recommending if the
Accessory.
board passes it in the accessory buildings.
It's
If
not
it's in
allowed
your main
in
building,
accessory.
then you
Okay.
continue it the way it is. But I can't understand why we would make something big in an accessory building.
I think it's a very good suggestion, so.
And I agree with the decreasing like to 2 years. I think 2 years is
Yeah.
reasonable.
Okay.
I just don't want to see it go to 0, and we're going to get some flipping.
Okay.
Are we having any problems with things as they are right now?
Well, that's what, I think what Mr. Hamilton was saying. That he does have people come to him often, and there's nothing that he can offer them.
No, I mean other.
In the-
Problems
in the
with
existing
the
ones?
existing accessory apartments?
We have 30 accessory apartments, and we had one problem. It had nothing to do with the apartment. It had to do with a legal issue where we had to get the police involved with the tenant and the landlord, which is not part of the apartment situation. So we really have had no problems with all of these apartments, all 30 of them. It's been fine. We inspect them every year, make sure that everything is still okay, the fire codes are being met, and the board very, very kindly gave me that authority a couple of years ago. So we've been doing it every year, going through them.
That's been a good thing.
Are all the current ones at or around 800 square feet, or are they more or less?
The majority of them run anywhere from 6 to 800.
Okay.
I have some of them where it's just an elderly parent living in there alone. And some of them are husband and wife or spouse or partners. And but they average that. Remember, the 800 square feet is the maximum you can have, as opposed to, you can't go over 33% of your building.
Right.
Maximum 800 square feet.
Great.
Okay?
Do you have anything else for us tonight?
No?
No.
I gave you the report on our activity. We've been busy.
You've been busy?
Yeah, we've been busy.
And we don't have any update on Artis. We don't know anything that's going on with Artis.
Other than explaining the law to them on grass, they applied for a building permit. I will not issue it until they meet conditions that I want. I want stormwater erosion control. I want a temporary fence put up. There's a few things I want them to do before we'll issue the permit, and they haven't come back.
Okay. All right. Great.
Okay?
Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Receiver of taxes, Holly Perlowitz.
Welcome back, Honorable Hurwitz. We're glad to have you here to talk to us a little bit about an ongoing conversation about the charitable trust.
Yes. Thank you for inviting me back. I just want to do a quick review of the brief discussion that you had last week at the town hall meeting, just to sort of, if anyone had missed that, to bring.
Are you hearing okay? Because I'm having a hard time hearing. Are you fine? Okay. Okay, just double checking.
Hey, maybe I should speak louder. Is
Okay.
that better?
That's better.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so just a quick review of what you discussed last week. This all came about due to this $10,000 limitation that's been put on to people for deducting their state and local taxes as a result of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that was enacted in December of 2017 and was effective for January 2018. So essentially what that means is that as individuals, you can only deduct on your personal income taxes up to $10,000 of your state income taxes plus your real estate taxes. So it's put some of our residents in a position where they're going to have some real estate taxes that won't be deductible. And in response to that, New York State adopted a law that provides a framework to establish these what they're calling charitable contribution funds. And they're really at two levels. One is the state level, and the second one is the local or municipal level. And within that local and municipal level are basically the three taxes that we would pay: school taxes, county taxes, and town taxes, and obviously village as well. And, again, the general idea is that a taxpayer would make a donation into this charitable fund, and then since there's no limitation on the deductibility of a donation, then that donation would, you'd be allowed to deduct it on your personal taxes, and then you would apply this amount that you donated as a form of paying your taxes.
But not all of it.
But not all of it. It's up to 95%, and we'll go into a little bit of that. I just want it's so hard to provide a summary without getting into the weeds of it. But again, so we know what the general idea is, and you know what the basic framework is. The IRS has not yet officially issued any sort of regulations, although they have put us on notice that they're going to issue regulations soon. And the notice sort of said that they want taxpayers to be mindful of the fact that the federal law really controls how they characterize a donation for deductibility purposes. And they use the term that they're going to look at it from substance over form. And the thinking is that they will likely say that it's not going to be deductible. However, the state has also said that perhaps they say that, and if that happens, then they will fight this in court, and it'll be decided ultimately in court. So a lot of people, including me, are certainly waiting to see what the IRS says, but it does seem like they are likely to disallow it, but the state might go on and fight this in court. So it's clearly a hot topic. Every town, village, school districts are talking about it. I've gone to any meeting, any presentation that has existed. Dana and I have gone to some together. I recently went to the New York State Association of Tax Receivers and Collectors, and it was all the talk about that as well. And unfortunately, there's a lot we just don't know yet. A lot has not been decided. A lot of how this is going to get implemented hasn't been decided and talked about, and everyone is sort of waiting on the fray to what could happen. So I thought it was a good idea to tell you what we do know. What we do know is that the county has shared with us that they intend to set up one of these funds. I have spoken to the gentleman in the county office in the county government who's sort of spearheading this, and he fully admits that they don't really have an implementation plan of how they will handle this. But I I heard from him, and I believe that this is what will happen, and that's that they will involve all the municipalities. And the reason this is so important, as you know, we collect the county taxes for them, and then we remit whatever we collect back to the county. So if they set up this fund where you have to make a donation, the questions are, do you make this donation directly to the county, and then do they give you some sort of a voucher that you then bring back to the town and use this voucher as a way of, as legal tender to pay a portion of your taxes? And the law says that on the county level, you can pay up to 95% of your taxes with this donation. In other words, 5% of it you have to pay that's not included in the donation.
I do think each municipal entity has the option to determine. Want to say?
Yeah, the municipalities have the option of making it lower. Is that what you were going to? Yes, they do. But it can't be, the maximum is 95%. We know that so far, the Village of Scarsdale and the Village and Town of Rye have both said that their intent is to create these funds. I have spoken to the person in the Village in the Town of Rye today, and he said that they really don't know much about how they're going to implement it, but they're not as worried about it because they have until later on in 2019 until they have to create a town and county bill. We know that the school districts, it does not appear in Westchester County that any school districts have committed to setting up this charitable fund. They all appear to be waiting to see what the IRS comes out with in these regulations. We have been reaching out to the school districts in our town, and they've both said that they're waiting for the determination by the IRS. Just as an aside, fire districts and other special districts are not included in this. They can't create charitable funds. They're not a part of this. We mentioned that, I just want to make sure I'm getting everything in. We mentioned the 95%, and I think it's important for taxpayers to understand this concept that they're actually increasing their taxes by about 5%. It's math. We'd have to calculation on that. But that gives them the ability to potentially deduct more on their personal income taxes. The very practical issues that are bubbling up are those people who pay their taxes through their mortgage companies. How is that going to work? And I can tell you that at this conference that I was at, there was representation from probably the 3 largest tax service agencies. And for those of you who might not know what those are, there are national organizations that are set up where banks engage them to collect what all the tax bills are for all their mortgages that they hold, and then they pay the taxes on their behalf. And they don't know what they're going to do yet. They haven't figured it out. They also, these are national organizations, and New York is just one that they have this challenge for. So we don't know what they're going to do as well. There has been a statement from the Department of Financial Services that they're going to issue some guidance in that. So then again, we're waiting for that guidance. We talked about the fact that online payments at this conference that I was at, that online payments become challenged now because you can't make an online payment with a voucher. What will happen if somebody gets the voucher, let's say from the county, because they've made a contribution into the county's charitable fund and they get a voucher, and then they don't present the voucher on a timely basis to pay their taxes, what happens? Does it become invalid? Does the county have to refund it? does their penalty get based on the total amount of the bill, less the voucher that wasn't presented in a timely basis? Those are sort of still unclear. We also know that the school taxes is the most urgent matter right now, because school tax bills will be created during the month of August and sent at the end of August. So we don't have a lot of time to react. So we know that as a fact. That doesn't change the fact that we want to do the best thing for our taxpayers, but that's the most urgent matter at this point. So I think next steps are that we have to just continue to keep in very good touch with the county, with our school districts. By the way, the county did share with me that they're looking to engage a software provider to help them to automate this collection process, because they're not used to collecting taxes, because we do it for them, and they don't really have the infrastructure in place to do that. So they are speaking to some software companies, so that can take some time as well. The other steps that we have to do is continue to just think through the scenarios of, assuming that we do set these up, how would we in our office have to, what will change for us? And I am already talking to our current tax collection software provider and having them think through the solutions. It doesn't, they have clients all over, but it doesn't affect everybody, because some of the upstate New York State counties just don't have the same tax levels that we have. And I would continue to request that our taxpayers weigh in on the subject. As I know the town supervisor asked last week when you discussed this matter, that they call us, let them know what they're thinking. And most importantly is, I really recommend to taxpayers that you begin a conversation with your own tax preparers on what they're thinking relative to your own personal situation, as well as what are they hearing about this, because there's a lot of unknowns. So I've told you everything I do know, and I will continue to keep the board apprised of anything, and I know Dana will do the same thing. There's a lot of people who are getting information, and we have a very good network of sharing it, not only within Ossining, but also within our colleagues at other municipalities, and certainly being supported by our legal counsel as well. Okay.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Any questions?
Okay.
Fine.
Have a question?
I did.
Okay, we have one
I only have a
question.
question, I'm sorry.
Okay.
All right, the 95%, they can pay 95%, the other 5%, they have to come pay the town?
No.
Yeah,
No.
talk about that, please.
No, you have to pay. So if my taxes typically are $100, I can make a donation to the charitable trust.
Or 100?
Or 100 or more than 100, whatever amount I want. But only 95% of the amount that I make, that I donate to the charitable trust, is allowed to be applied to my tax, to offset the taxes.
Okay,
So
where
yes,
does the
you
other
do
5% go?
You have, the other 5%, the state envisioned, I believe, and I mean, that's certainly how it's been put to us, that would be used to offset the administrative fees to implement this.
Okay.
So that gets to be kept by, it may be that, for example, say for example, the school district were to set up an intermunicipal agreement with the town to help them collect for their charitable trust.
Now, I understand the concept, but I'm just kind of wondering, will there be a cap? I mean, some people would end up paying, 5% can be an awful lot in some of our bigger properties.
Correct.
So I feel
No,
like
there's-
that's a real question that we need answered before, some people are giving out.
What do you mean, will there be a cap? But I don't
There
understand the
has to
question.
be.
What,
There'd have to be, right?
It cannot get closer to 100% than 95%, and it can be lower. And
Right.
each municipality, when they enact their local law, setting the credit amount, can decide what that percentage is going to be. So you could potentially decide, not saying that you would, that it's 80%.
Right, that
which-
we'd accept, but I mean, is there a maximum amount, or is it always 5% of the
There's no
donation?
dollar- there's no dollar
Or can
cap.
somebody potentially give a couple $1,000s towards administrative fees in the end because they had that many taxes and made that big of a donation?
There's no dollar cap unless
No.
I'm not
No dollar
informed. There's a
cap.
there's a
25%.
percentage
It's a
cap.
percentage cap.
Okay, so
Percentage cap.
5%
So
always
it's-
goes to,
It's-
even
it's-
if
The
they have
cha-
$100,000
always
in
remains with the charitable
taxes.
trust, and then whatever the entity is that's collecting for the charitable trust, or that charitable trust is associated with, gets to decide presumably how that 5% will be.
Right, so if I paid
Spent.
100,000 in taxes, it would be $5,000 of a that would be 5%,
Oh, yeah, right.
in fees and everything else
Right.
to
The
handle
wa-
it.
The way the math works is you take whatever your tax amount will be, which is, a whole nother question is,
Right.
people would need to be told what that would be and how the
Yeah, no, I-
logistics of
I
that
get
would
all
work.
that, yeah.
You take that amount and you divide it by 0.95, if 95% is what we decide is the amount. And then it's that amount that you will have to pay, so you're almost like grossing up what you have to pay, what you can donate in order to pay your taxes. That's the max we would allow to be paid.
Right, so in the end, you're paying 5%
It's
more.
approximately
in
5%.
In an attempt to get the deduction,
Correct. So
Okay.
you're paying for the,
administrative
Benefit-
fees. I was just
well,
wondering if
and-
there was a
and-
cap on how much the
and
administrative
also for
fees
the
would be.
benefit of
I don't believe.
using it as a deduction. I don't know if benefit is the right word to use, but in order to take the additional deduction, that 5% is what you have to additionally. Is that a good way of characterizing it?
So you're saying, is there a cap on what the administrative fees would
Right.
be? Like a number amount or a
Right,
percentage
or
amount?
like
Because-
5% up to $3,000, or whatever.
I don't
Oh.
think, I don't
No,
think
not
anybody's
yet,
saying
okay.
that 5% is necessarily always going to administrative fees. Your administrative fees may be a lot less than that. And then you decide to put the rest towards, I don't know, I mean, if you were the school district, you may say, we're going to put it towards a playground, or we're going to put it towards whatever it is that the school district needs. You're going to continue to utilize it like you do with your other funds that you have set up, whatever is legally allowed, how you can legally allowed to use, allowed
But
to
at-
use the money.
at this
So
point-
one more second.
So
Nora,
you're,
just
I mean,
wanna
you're
clear one
mixing,
thing.
you're kind of mixing, you're mishmashing it a
Yeah, well,
little
then
bit.
there's got to be a number where, paying 5% extra
And that's why
has
it's,
to balance out with you, so that's why you have to talk to your accountant.
yeah,
You
that's
have to
why
talk
See
to
if
your
it works
accountant.
for you.
That's
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay, 'cause there's a point where that doesn't work
Of
financially.
course.
That's
That's-
exactly the point.
That's
is
the point.
that you really need to.
So you
it
really need to
doesn't-
talk with your accountant. It's not a,
Because
this
it-
is going to help me kind of a thing.
It doesn't work for everyone.
Okay.
And it works differently for everyone, and everyone really needs to speak to their personal tax preparer and mock out what their situation is to determine whether or not it makes sense for them individually. Our job would be just to provide perhaps the option, but not to give you any sort of sense of what you should do.
But at this point, there are so many unknown factors.
Yes.
I don't see how you can come up with an exact number or figure of anything almost. You got to wait until you know what's really going on, and I don't think any of us do yet.
Well, that's true. I think the only thing that we know right now is that the county said that they're interested and that we're responsible for collecting the county taxes. So the next step is for the county to reach out to municipalities, basically ask municipalities to adopt legislation to allow this. Some may not. There's some municipalities that are just uncomfortable with the whole concept for a variety of other reasons, which we haven't even discussed. And we do know right now that the villages of Austin and Briarcliff have not proceeded down this path. The village of Briarcliff, as I mentioned, first half taxes are due on Monday or
July
Tuesday?
2nd.
What did I say? July 2nd,
July
Monday? So I mean, timing-wise, I don't know how they could have gotten it together anyway to implement it for this collection, but I mean, theoretically, I guess they could have, and they chose not to. would they want to do something for second half collection? Maybe, they might also be kind of waiting and seeing, or they may have just decided that it's impractical. And as Receiver Hurwitz mentioned, I had asked for feedback at the last meeting. I continue to ask for feedback. I have gotten none of anybody who's reached out to our office to say, please implement this. This is something that is important to me and will be important to my bottom line. We haven't really heard from anybody, so I'm just imploring, again, anybody, any taxpayers, to please do reach out and let us know if that is something that you are interested in. It's so complicated, like you said, Councilman Welcher, that I don't know if anybody would be willing to jump in. And,
'Cause it's
certain
confusing,
communities,
and
yeah.
most people don't understand it
Right.
yet.
Correct.
Well, and because there were also changes, again,
Right.
it's not my role to share this, but there also were changes in the standard deduction and how that affects you. So there's a lot of things that are, related to personal tax situations that have to be worked out that, our taxpayers have to consider that on their own individual basis.
So again, we're sort of at a wait and see if we need to put something in place to make it easier for people, because one of our taxing entities that we collect for is interested in pursuing it. I think that if we know that there aren't going to be any negative repercussions to us for doing that right now, doesn't necessarily to the town, like, we're not taking any taking on any liability, and I'm guessing that we would be willing to do that. But I don't know. Haven't necessarily said, but if there weren't any liability to the town, but it were more on an individual basis, we would be willing to make it available for people then to each make their own individual decision.
Yeah,
Would they like to pay their county taxes by making a contribution to a charitable trust, or are they just going to pay their taxes regularly? That's as far as I can see right now that we can discuss, and we'll hear more again from the county shortly.
And as you have said, nobody has asked you anything.
Correct.
And I sure hope nobody asks me, because I'm just as confused as anybody else would be. Because I don't know what I read and hear. But it just seems like even the state or the county is not ready for this. They don't, I guess they're waiting for the IRS too?
The county has said that they're interested in pursuing it.
Oh, okay.
I've
That's-
had a few people approach me that are interested in it, and one from Briarcliff that was said that they weren't considering it yet.
Okay. Good to know. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Public comment on agenda items. Move into our board resolutions. Approval of minutes, regular meeting, and joint CDBG meeting. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Ossining hereby approves the June 13, 2018 minutes of the regular meeting and joint CDBG meeting as presented.
Do we have a motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Letter B, approval of minutes, special meeting. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Ossining hereby approves the June 19, 2018 minutes of the special meeting as presented.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Approval of voucher detail report. Resolved that the Town Board hereby approves the voucher detail report dated June 26, 2018, in the amount of $446,792.80.
Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Letter D, approval of 2018 cabaret license Flames Bar and Grill LLC, 533 North State Road, Briarcliff Manor, Town of Ossining. Whereas Flames Bar and Grill LLC has filed an application for a cabaret license for the calendar year 2018, and whereas the Town Board has reviewed the application and attachments thereto, as well as reports from involved departments, including Police Department and Building Department, and whereas on June 26, 2018, the Town Board opened a public hearing on the subject cabaret application, at which time all persons interested were given an opportunity to speak on the cabaret application, and the public hearing was closed on June 26, 2018. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Ossining hereby approves the application of Flames Bar and Grill LLC, 533 North State Road, Briarcliff, in New York, in the unincorporated area of the town of Ossining for a cabaret license subject to the following limitations and conditions. Bands, DJs with no more than 2 performers to be allowed on Sunday through Saturday from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. indoors only.
Do I have a motion? Second. Any discussion? Hey, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Fantastic, and we'll be sharing this.
Yes, I have it
Tomorrow?
all prepared, and I'll be mailing it out
Fantastic.
tomorrow.
Wonderful, thank you.
I'm glad we're having it be just indoors at first to see how the neighbors, what they hear.
Well, we don't,
From
I don't
inside.
think we
The
have
code
any.
actually requires that.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, good.
yeah. Requires them. Thank you.
Letter E, CDBG application 2019-2021, Cycle Lewis Engel Park Beach and Playground Improvements. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Ossining hereby endorses the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, entitled Lewis Engel Park Beach and Playground Improvements with a total project cost of $620,000, $250,000 requested from the CDBG program, and $370,000 provided by the town as a local match.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
So we have discussed all of our community development block grants or CDBG applications, both at the public meeting on June 13th, and then again, we had a public hearing last week, which was opened up to the public for comment. Having heard no public pushback on any of these applications, we are asking the board to adopt the 4 applications, which we will hear all the resolutions for, to the Westchester Urban County Consortium for this 3-year grant cycle, 2019 to 21. And again, you'll hear about all of them, but the first one is for the park, beach, and playground improvements. Then the park performance space and comfort station relocation and improvements. We're also planning later in the year to apply for Hudson Valley Greenway Grant for help planning. And we anticipate that these will be for the 3rd year of the grant cycle. Also for improvements to the kitchen at the senior nutrition program at the community center, which coincides with the village's application for improvements to the community center, as well as a bus for the senior nutrition program. And this is sort of listed in reverse order in our resolutions. We're going to start off with the senior nutrition program bus, because that we will have the easiest time getting that in year 1. And that was based on guidance that we received from the county. So I'm not going to go through each one as we get through each resolution. If anybody has any questions now about any of the next 4, the total 4 resolutions, let's just discuss those now. And hearing none, all those in favor of item Resolution E?
Aye.
Aye.
Letter F, CDBG application 2019-2021, Cycle Lewis Engel Park Performance Space and Comfort Station relocation and improvements. Resolved that the Town Board of Town of Ossining endorses the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, entitled Lewis Engel Park Performance Space and Comfort Station relocation and improvements with a total project of $558,000, $250,000 requested from the CDBG program, and $308,000 provided by the town as a local match.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
And just also to let you know that tomorrow, Richard Wishney, who is our CDAG appointee, will be by to sign these as soon as they are. All those in, oh, okay.
I thought she, I thought,
I just had the discussion for all 4 at the beginning, but
oh, you got to read them
read
all
all each
anyway.
of the resolutions.
Okay.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Letter G, CDBG application 2019-2021, Cycle Community Center Improvements Initiative, kitchen renovations for senior nutrition program. Resolved that Town Board of Town of Ossining endorses the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, entitled Community Center Improvement Initiative, kitchen renovations for senior nutrition program with a total project cost of $240,000, $120,000 requested from the CDBG program, and $120,000 $120,000 provided by the town as a local match.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? A question for council. Could we have just done all 4 of them together?
Since you're going to be doing them at separate times and they're separate grants, I think it was prudent to do
Okay.
them separately. If
curious.
An extra 5 minutes here
I know,
isn't
I'm
the
just
end of the
curious.
world.
Just asking. Okay.
You know, in the future, we could look at that again. But again, since you're going to be submitting this separately, I don't think it hurts.
Okay.
Letter H, CDBG application 2019-2021 cycle bus for senior nutrition program. Resolve the town board of the town of Austining endorses the community development block grant CDBG entitled Bus for Senior Nutrition Program with a total project cost of $140,000, $70,000 requested from the CDBG program, and $70,000 provided by the town as a local match.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Letter I, Contract Sustainable Westchester Waste Reduction and Recycling Shared Services Program. Resolve the town board hereby authorizes the supervisor to enter into a contract with Sustainable Westchester to participate in the Waste Reduction and Recycling Shared Services Program for the purposes of streamlining waste and improving communication about recycling programs with the Austining residents for an amount not to exceed $1,600 for program year 1.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
And if we could just add, yeah, I'm going to. I'm going to just also add a friendly amendment that we add in of the town of Austining. There, and all of our other resolutions say the town board of the town of Austining. So I will take the friendly amendment. And then, yes, Sustainable Westchester, which is another consortium of most of the municipalities in Westchester, in an effort to help improve our recycling numbers, which, although good, have been stable or flat for the last number of years, has offered another joint purchasing opportunity to us. This program promises to streamline waste and recycling communications between municipalities and residents, and thereby reduce the burden on our highway staff, reduce residents' confusion around recycling, help them find information quickly and accurately, help promote recycling and waste diversion, bring best practices from other successful communities into play, make it cost-effective using an aggregated purchasing model. Using the Recollect technology platform, residents of participating municipalities will have access to a one-stop website or mobile app where they can find their address-specific garbage pickup schedules, what goes and doesn't go in curbside recycling bins. They can find nearby places to donate, repair, recycle any of the 500-plus items that are found in their household or workplace, and also easily report any problems to their local municipal staff without having to call or wait on the phone. For those who do like to speak with a real person and get information the traditional way, they will still be able to do so. Our highway staff is very supportive of this new program, and we are excited to be able to participate in it for our community. They also believe that it will streamline their work, and it'll be easier also to push out notifications, for example, when we have storm events or anything like that, about any of their refuse recycling pickup. It's very inexpensive. This is something that other municipalities have participated in at much higher cost because they hired or they brought in this Recollect technology platform individually. And so Sustainable Westchester went out to multiple communities in Westchester, and everybody, many communities are very excited about being able to offer this. So you can either have it as an app on your phone, or you can go online and you can just say, okay, I live at X address, and it'll tell you what your schedule is, what's being picked up that day, and offer other information as well. So,
I mean, like if it's snowing, then there'll be no garbage pickup, you'll get like a notification.
correct. Yes, they can do all that, and we can
But we'll still
eliminate.
be mailing the basic one that
We
we
are
mail out
going
every.
to mail, what we would do for the next year is we would do a smaller mailing, have as much information on it, because right now it has are you familiar with it? It's got a lot of information on it. We would have some of the information, but give everybody an opportunity to basically to opt in, to not have to get a printout anymore. You can still get a printout you can print it out. You can just print out something right from the website, but we wouldn't have to mail out all the prints. So the first year, we would send out a mailing with some of the information that's necessary, not all of it. Encourage people to sign up to go on, to opt out of the physical mailing, and then see what our numbers look like to reduce it. So ultimately, we're trying to reduce the cost for printing it and mailing. Because many,
what you're
many
trying to
people
do,
would
yeah.
much happier to have it on their
No,
phone.
absolutely, but I just don't want to disenfranchise the people who don't use it.
It's going to continue to be an option for anybody who wants it. We will still continue to be able to mail it for anybody who wants it. That's,
So the ones that opt out won't be mailed to anymore, or the ones you have to say that you want?
I mean, I think we'll have to discuss that and try to get some feedback and advice from those who have done it before and what's been most successful.
Okay.
Haven't made that decision yet, but we're not.
Okay.
Okay?
Is there a target start date?
That's a good question. I know that we all had to opt in by July 1st, so I'm not exactly sure when we start getting it, but hopefully it'll be sooner rather than later, and we can get people up to speed, and maybe we can even have an opportunity to have people opt out of the mailing in advance of the mailing if we can get it implemented sooner rather than later.
That's
And
how
I'm
school
not
sounds like a
districts have
great
done it
idea.
when they did a big push to have things online.
Right.
They got, over the summer, they sent out a mailing saying, opt in or opt out kind of thing. So people can still get mailings, but if you don't want the mailings, you go online.
Okay. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Letter J, calling for a public hearing regulating use of leaf blowers within the unincorporated town. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Ossining hereby calls for a public hearing to be held on Tuesday, July 10th at 7:30 PM at the Birdsall Fagan Police Court Facility, Ossining, New York, in the matter of local law 4, 2018, entitled Regulating Use of Leaf Blowers Within the Town, Unincorporated Town.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
Okay, so we have a draft local law that we were looking to get some feedback on. So we're calling the town did discuss this at a recent work session, and our council to the town did prepare a draft local law that generally, I think the board seems to be in favor of putting in place some leaf blower legislation. And we look forward to gaining insight from the public about this proposed law so we can join with many of our surrounding communities, limit the use of these machines, which wreak havoc on our lungs, our ears, and our lawns. I did happen to pop my head into the EAC meeting last night, and I heard a positive from a town resident whose neighbor mentioned that their landscaper had decided to start mulching in place because it saved time and money, and they thought it might have had something to do with our conversations about introducing this local law. So we look forward to getting input from our Environmental Advisory Committee as well as from the public at this public hearing on July 10th. And of course, anybody's also welcome to send in by email or make phone calls to us to give us feedback.
Yeah, that first paragraph, that first item wasn't as clear as I wanted it to be in the draft. Do we revise?
I think we should probably, well, I think the intent was to try to get comments from the public and then maybe leave the public hearing open and hold another
Okay,
work
good.
session about this to discuss
Okay.
it. Again, that was,
It's just
that
a-
was just
that's
a
just
draft.
kind of a-
I had to start somewhere.
Right.
Okay, perfect.
And I think some of it was probably verbatim language from other codes that I looked at based upon the discussion the town board had at the
Okay,
work
that makes
session when
more
they
sense.
talked about it. I tried to flesh it out, but if you aren't happy with it or you think there are things that need to be changed, we can
But as we
certainly
have the
discuss that.
conversation, it'll probably be fleshed out anyway, and as we hear public feedback, it'll be fleshed.
Yeah, and I did have some thoughts and comments about some issues that I don't think had necessarily maybe come up or been specifically addressed. So I'll prepare a memo for the board in advance of the public hearing and any subsequent work session so that you can have those thoughts in mind. Not that you won't have other thoughts or things that may need to be addressed or fleshed out, but just some things that had come to my attention while I was drafting it.
Thank you.
The question, have you heard anything about the battery operated and all that? You heard any more?
Has Sustainable Westchester come forward with examples? Remember, they were going to bring us
They,
Sample technology.
in terms of the leaf blowers, I'm just not remembering. I don't remember. What was that?
They said they had
We're not gonna
access
have
to.
Oh, for,
Yes.
well, you're saying for like for our Parks Department, for municipal, is
Right,
that what
well,
we're
you
talking
know,
about?
yeah, that-
So
yeah,
we
so they
are,
were gonna show
most
us.
towns and most towns do exempt their highway and Parks Department, even though they encourage them. And I think that as we're starting to see better technology, I just think that the technology for the large
larger
scale
parcels
use isn't there yet. However, as I mentioned, there are things that you can do to avoid having to use it as much as others might, because and avoid having to blow as many leaves by sort of taking on these mulch in place practices, which our town parks does do. They avoid having to blow lots of leaves because they're chopping them up and then distributing them and dispersing them on the lawn, like they just
I
leave
do
them
that
on.
at my house.
Right, so that helps a lot reduce the amount. What we have heard from all of our public works departments is that they use it to get the leaves off of pavement. And some of the feedback we'd heard from one of our expert residents was that you don't want to be blowing the leaves on the lawn in terms of impact that it has on the lawn and the environment.
I remember that conversation.
So the way to avoid that and also to reduce the amount of stuff that you're blowing is by doing that mulching in place. But you may have to use the power equipment to get rid of it on the pavement, right, so that's why we're exempting the town the town parks and the highway department, cemetery, from this. But again, as we move forward and we improve our technology and what's available to us to purchase, we're hoping that there'll be more powerful, better units available so that we can bring electric technology into use in the Parks and Highway Department as well. Right now,
And are we
it's just they're not that powerful.
talking about allowing the electric ones for the homeowners?
Right, so
Or
I
is that
think
just
that it's
more that we have to
an
talk about
issue of
during
the
our
noise
public hearing?
and, I don't remember about what it says in there, if it says anything about electric leaf blowers.
So we should
I
probably
mean,
talk about that
it's
as
global.
part of our public hearing.
I think it applies to all of them. The way it's drafted now, it doesn't have to. But it's a very broad, as it applies to leaf blowers. It doesn't apply to other types of mechanic devices having to do with landscaping, like lawnmowers, and some codes do.
Some codes
So
do.
that's something for the board to consider as well. That in some of the codes, it restricts the use on residential properties of lots under a certain size. And that's the way this draft is proposed, but that's something the board will have to consider as well, exempting the number of leaf blowers on lots that are more than half an acre. But again,
So a lot of conversations.
you got to start somewhere to just put something in front of you guys so that you can look at it and say, I like it, I don't like it. But these are all starting off points. They're just frames of reference from other municipalities. And, I know this board certainly is very aware and conscientious about environmental issues. And so, you may decide to go above and beyond while also being cognizant, like you were saying, of the needs of the municipality and your staff to efficiently provide services to the public.
And I just would like to remind you all that we have 2 weeks to review this and talk more about it we'll hear about it at a public hearing, and then we follow it up with a work session.
While the public hearing will remain open, so there will be ample opportunities for public and town board discussion.
So, all those in favor of calling for a public hearing?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Letter K, acceptance of donation, 1989 Catalina sailboat. The town board of the town of Ossining hereby accepts, with thanks, Westerly Marina's donation of a 1989 Catalina sailboat valued at approximately $6,860 for use of the Ossining Recreation Department Community Sailing Program.
So, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Unfortunately, the sailboats that were used by our community sailing program were parked up at Cedar Lane Park, sustained significant damage during one of the storms this winter, and were not able to be resuscitated. We're pleased to accept this donation from Westerly Marina for one replacement, and we're still looking, thank you to Joe Clark for another, and thank you to Joe Clark for finding and working with Westerly Marina on this one. To have our program. Any other discussion?
Just thank you to Westerly.
Westerly. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Letter L, appointment interim town clerk, whereas the duly elected town clerk of the town of Ossining is out on medical leave, and whereas the office of the town clerk requires supplemental personnel during the period when clerk Mary Ann Roberts is out of the office. Resolved that the town board of the town of Ossining hereby appoints Victoria Caffarelli Ossining to second line position of town clerk on a temporary basis at the rate of $23 an hour, effective July 2nd, 2018.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
So unfortunately, Honorable Marianne Roberts, our town village clerk, has had to take some time, for personal reasons. This has been longer than expected, and as a result, we have a need to fill in the gap. As a temporary measure, we are pleased to have someone who is extremely familiar with the processes, procedures, and operating systems in the clerk's office, and are happy we can take the step to appoint Victoria Caffarelli as the interim town clerk. Further notice. Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Letter M, resolution in supporting of issuing driver's license to New York State residents regardless of immigration status, whereas many New York residents are denied access to driver's licenses solely because of their immigration status, and whereas these New York residents urgently need these licenses in order to lawfully drive to their places of work, buy groceries, essential supplies, take their children to school, travel to appointments, attend religious worship, or to get to hospital and other medical facilities in cases of emergencies, and whereas licensing all drivers improves public safety by ensuring that everyone driving on our roads is knowledgeable of our vehicle and traffic laws through the licensing process and is operating a registered, inspected, and insured vehicle, and whereas licensed drivers who become involved in traffic incidents are more likely to aid police and emergency workers and to engage in exchange of necessary information with other motorists, and those who witness incidents and crimes will be more comfortable reporting them to the police and cooperating in investigations. And whereas allowing immigrants to obtain a driver's license, regardless of immigration status, would mean an increase in revenue of New York State for a license registration and other associated fees and taxes. And whereas removing immigration status barriers to driver's licenses will assist in the reduction of accidents involving uninsured motorists, leading to lower auto insurance premiums for all New Yorkers. And whereas there are 12 states across the United States that already provide access to licenses for all residents regardless of immigration status, including our adjacent state of Connecticut and Vermont to the north. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Ossining expresses our collective desire for safety and security for all our residents, and further our commitment to pursuing the common good of ensuring shared resources such as roads and highways to be accessed and utilized responsibly and safely. And be it further resolved that the town board of the town of Ossining recognizes immigration law to be a federal concern and enforcement a drain on limited local resources. And be it further resolved that the town board of the town of Ossining calls upon New York State Legislature and Governor Cuomo to promptly ensure the issuances of driver's licenses to all New York State residents regardless of immigration status. And be it further resolved that the town clerk shall forward a true copy of this resolution duly endorsed to reflect its enactment by the town board of the town of Ossining to the executive chamber of Governor Andrew Cuomo, Assemblywoman Sandy Galiff, and Senator David Carlucci.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
Okay, so we had discussed this also at a work session, and as is stated in this resolution, that issuing driver's licenses to New York residents, regardless of their immigration status, is just common sense. Other states have put this in place, and in fact, New York had this in place some years back. As discussed in our work session, we hope that New York State will adopt this. I do know that the legislative session is over for the year, and it was not adopted in either house. So we will continue to advocate for it, because as our police chief has also been a supporter, we know that it will make our streets just that much safer. So, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No, I don't remember this. Maybe I
Discussed it.
wasn't.
That is possible.
But I do
Possible.
know all of this is fine, but it doesn't help the drivers. If the people getting these licenses can't drive,
No, well, that you have to pass.
That's the
you have
point, they'd have to pass a road test.
A road test.
I know how it's done, but that doesn't mean that you can drive.
Well, I don't know what
And
has that
I
differentiates.
also know that there are people who take road tests for people. So I'm just saying,
Oh, that's a
if
problem.
one thing doesn't matter.
Well, that may be the case, but that could happen no matter if you're an
That's what I'm
immigrant or
saying, I
not.
understand. But-
That's, I
but
mean, that's an
you-
issue that you would take up with the
But if you're on the street,
Department of Motor
you
Vehicles.
can see, well, maybe you don't get out driving much, but it's a
Well,
lot
I
of,
drive plenty.
it's a lot of non-drivers out there.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
but we
no,
don't know
you're
how
right.
many of them have driver's license.
Well, wait until they hit you.
Yeah, me personally, I'd like for them to be able to get car insurance,
Exactly.
because I've been hit by a non-licensed, non-insured driver before, and it was not a happy situation. So I'm really hoping that if they are allowed to get licenses, and they will get their car registered and insured properly, and that should they have an accident from their limited experience, that at least the person who was the unfortunate other party would have insurance remedies.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
Letter N, contract homespun merry-go-round. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Ossining hereby authorizes the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Al Gorey Enterprises, Oak Ridge, New Jersey, for the purposes of providing entertainment at the Town of Ossining concerts on June 29, 2018, and July 3, 2018, at the rate of $50 per event, in accordance with the independent contractor agreement. The agreement drafted by council to the town, and be it further resolved that the town reserves the right to extend request for service to any or all of the other dates listed in agreement under the same terms as above.
Do we have a motion?
Second.
Okay, so this is a very interesting apparatus that I saw at the Clearwater Festival. It has two little swings on it, and it's solar powered, and there's little animals in the middle, and it's a very cute thing, and the kids really enjoyed it, and adults can actually hop on it too. And it's a swing that goes around, it's a cute little merry-go-round. Like I said, it's powered by the sun. So it seemed like
At
it
no
would be.
charge to the residents,
It's, well, no, it's $50
to us.
for the event that we, right, exactly.
But they
It'll
won't
be free.
also be charging the
Oh, no,
residents?
no, 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 no.
Okay.
No, he asked if he could put out a tip jar, but that was for $50, so he may not do that. So we thought we'd give it a little test run. A test spin. At the concert this Friday night, and see how it goes. And if it goes well, have him back for the fireworks. And then any other ones. It's not very
Yeah, I was
big.
gonna say lawn
It isn't
space
very
for the
big.
fireworks
It
is kind
isn't,
of-
it isn't very big, and we would probably be able to find space for it.
The way it's drafted, the contract now, if both parties sign that, he's required to do the fireworks. So if that's something,
Okay, if that's still up for grabs, then.
yeah.
I think we were gonna just sort of give it a test run Friday.
Or can we amend it to, if council decides?
No, I mean, it's up to the board, however you want to handle it. My understanding was that he was going to attend the first two, and then the remainder of the summer would be, if both parties agree. If you want it to be just based upon the agreement required to attend on Friday, and then at both parties' option to attend the fireworks and every subsequent, or any combination of the subsequent Fridays for the summer concert series, that could be amended. But I just want to make clear that that's not the way it's drafted now.
Okay. So let's amend it to say that definitely for this Friday, and then based on, town's direction.
I mean, there's already a mechanism contemplated
Yeah.
in there for both parties having to subsequently agree, and
Right.
either one can decide not to do it. But I just wanted to be clear that it does not apply to July 3rd right now.
Okay.
So we can just amend that provision of the
Okay.
contract to, and the other thing that came up, it does say that still say that he can put out a tip jar, but he can't actively solicit donations or tips, just have the tip jar out.
And how much space does it take up? From me to you, from me to Jackie?
Yeah, I think from me to you.
Oh, okay, that's
Yeah,
not bad.
like a square or a circle.
Oh, okay. That's not too. One blanket.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Okay. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Letter O, approval of fire inspection dinner at Lewis Engel Park. Resolved that the Town Board of Town of Ossining hereby authorizes the use of Lewis Engel Park by the Ossining Fire Department for their local annual inspection dinner on Saturday, June 30th, 2018, between the hours of 4 p.m. and midnight.
All those, do I have a motion?
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Look forward to seeing everybody at the inspection
But in this, is it
at the Engel Park. I think it starts.
outside?
Where they put that big
Yeah.
tent down in the
Oh,
river every year?
they had, okay, under the tent.
Correspondence to be received and filed, Planning Board meeting minutes dated June 6, 2018.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Monthly reports, visitor recognition, none. Adjournment.
Do I have a motion to adjourn into executive session for advice of counsel and personnel?
So moved.
Second.
Aye. Opposed? All right, so remember, everyone, school is out, but the town of Ossining and the village of Briarcliff camps are in session. Please be careful with kids out in our communities. Slow down. Also, Ossining School Superintendent Ray Sanchez has introduced the Summer Kindness Challenge, encouraging students and families to perform as many acts of kindness as possible over the summer and to post them to hashtag Ossining Kindness. There are great ideas on the school district's kindness webpage if you need some ideas. Remember, giving makes you feel good. It makes you stronger and happier when you perform an act of kindness. It has proven psychological benefits, including strengthening your immune system, improving cognitive performance, and increasing your energy. And as a result, being kind to others benefits not only the recipient, but also the giver. One more reminder that our spray park at the waterfront is open from 12 to 6 daily, and on especially hot days, we will extend the hours from 11 to 7. Also, we will not be meeting next Tuesday, so we hope to see everyone at the fireworks. And our offices will be closed on Wednesday, July 4th. Have a very happy Independence Day and a great week. And we will see you on the 11th. 10th. The 10th. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.